So for that, we have to go back about a year and a half to the night of Friday, November 13th, 2015. You might remember ISIS, the Islamic State, carried out a horrific coordinated attack in Paris involving multiple locations. There were bombs, there were guns, there were hostages taken. It was pretty terrible. Ultimately, 137 people were killed and hundreds more were wounded. There was a big backlash against Muslims afterwards, which is sadly predictable. And it was particularly sad because it focused on Syrian refugees, people fleeing their homes. So when Congress returned to DC the following week, a bill was introduced called the American Security Against Foreign Enemies Act, the American SAFE Act, because Congress loves dumb acronyms. This legislation proposed to suspend all entries from Syrian and Iraqi refugees, and it was being pushed really quickly through Congress. Our office was getting tons of calls and emails about the bill, and it was a huge deal at the time. In addition to having to deal with all that, in my constituent mail role, I also handled foreign affairs, immigration, and homeland security. So this was squarely in my wheelhouse. This was my responsibility. So at the time, I'm doing tons of research into what goes into the refugee vetting process and how the bill would affect refugees, and also following the investigation into the attacks, because that wasn't clear yet. I'm writing memos every day, I'm meeting with the Congresswoman, I'm updating her constantly. I'm being very thorough in my research, and I'm very, very opposed to this bill. And there were lots of reasons why, but I'm not going to go into all of them. Suffice it to say that refugees are human beings in need, and even if you're scared of them, coming into the US as a refugee is literally the hardest way to enter the country. And I'm using the word literally. It's really hard as a refugee to enter the country. Also, ISIS wants the Muslim world to perceive a total war with the West, and so this is basically playing into their hands, but I'm going to stop with the reasons. Anyways, I have a problem, and my problem is that all those calls and emails I mentioned, they're all overwhelmingly in support of the American SAFE Act. So every time I speak to the Congresswoman, updating her on whatever I have for her, making my case against the bill, she also asks about what people are calling about, and I have to tell her that most people calling don't agree with me. They don't know more than me. They haven't done more research than I did, but that doesn't matter. I have to tell her what people are contacting her about, and that's what they were contacting her about. And the only reason is that they chose to pick up the phone or sit down at the computer. So this bill was introduced on Tuesday. On Thursday, it came up for a vote, and it ended up passing pretty substantially as well, because all Republicans voted for it, and 47 Democrats supported it as well, and one of them was my boss, Congressman Slaughter. It was the next day that we got all the calls about people being disappointed in her and being upset that she voted this way. And suddenly it became my job to defend that vote. And I vehemently disagreed with it, but that was my job. I saw no reasonable or honest defense, and I didn't think anything reasonable was provided to me. I got sent home that Friday for saying I couldn't write any defense of the vote in good conscience, and I resigned the following Monday. And yeah, it was really hard, but I felt that's what I had to do for myself. And on Tuesday, a protest was held outside the Congresswoman's office in Rochester, supporting refugees and condemning her vote. So I think those people were absolutely right to be surprised and angry and to protest. I didn't think the Congresswoman was going to vote that way. Unfortunately, most of those protesters hadn't called in before the vote. So the thing about politicians is they really like their jobs. It's a pretty sweet gig. And it's really hard for them to ignore heaps of constituents, heaps of voters, telling them to do something regardless of the ethics or morality. So I'm not excusing my former boss for her vote, but I think it demonstrates an important lesson that we have to speak up loudly and proactively instead of reactively. And we can do it by ourselves, we can do it with groups of friends, we can do it with groups of strangers. But we really need to make ourselves heard when important issues come before Congress. So remember, know your member of Congress, find something to call about, relax, ask for something, and leave your name. Thanks.